Welcome to True Sovereignty, where we are mastering our minds so we can reclaim our peace. If you clicked on this video, I truly believe there's a message in here for you, and I would love to deliver that message to you, because that is my calling, that's what I'm here for. Today we're talking about signs you may be experiencing a spiritual awakening. To me, spiritual awakenings are not what you think they are. To me, it's a transformation of the self, an evolution of the self. Even if you're not spiritual, I think that you can have a spiritual awakening. I know that sounds a little backwards, but I think we are spiritual beings, whether we're atheists, religious, Buddhists, Taoists, Muslim. I think we're all spiritual beings. If you're experiencing any of these signs or symptoms, you may be experiencing a spiritual awakening or an evolution of who you truly are. So I'm gonna get this first one out of the way because it is kind of a little on the woo-woo end of things. My channel isn't a spiritual channel, it's more of a logical mental health channel with some spiritual undertones, because that's just how I look at life personally. So the first sign that you might be going through a spiritual awakening or an awakening of some sort is you start seeing synchronicities. And these synchronicities could be coincidences. And what are synchronicities? They are coincidences, but they are meaningful coincidences. Now, it can be frustrating because we don't always know what these mean, but typically it means you're on the right path, or that your spirit team is supporting you, or that you are supported divinely in what you're doing. So if you see angel numbers or repeating numbers, typically that means, you can look it up and see what they mean specifically, but typically it just means that you're on the right path. You're doing something right, or you are supported. That is where that phrase comes from for those who have the eyes to see. If you're open to it, you will be able to see or hear the messages that the universe is sending you, which brings up another thing you will notice is that your intuition will be a lot sharper. That's why it's important to be silent sometimes, so you can really hear what your heart has to say. If you have burning questions, your intuition typically has the answers, but it only really comes when you listen. You trust the unseen, you trust the universe, even when there's uncertainty. So even when you're uncertain, you know your path forward. And most of life is moving blind. So the only thing that's real is the present moment. The future and our past is not real. It doesn't exist. The only thing that exists is what you're perceiving right now. So for me, the only thing that's real is that I'm making this video. There's nothing real. Like, after this video, I have to go back to work. And prior to this, I was working. But isn't it weird to say? None of that was real. None of that is real. And the only thing that's real is right now. So another thing that happens, we're going to get into the more logical stuff now, is that you will begin to improve. You will begin to desire to improve and to be a better person every day. You kind of let go of your ego. There's something called ego death. I don't particularly like that term. There's, in fact, a lot of terms and a lot of ideas in the world of spirituality that I don't like and that I don't personally align with. I tend to call it an ego taming. It's like you're taming your ego and you're becoming, by default, more of who you truly are. You're not just a human, you're also an infinite spiritual being. At least, that's what I like to think. You start to connect and align with what your higher self would like for you. And that is being more disciplined, being less egoic, being more open-minded, wanting to improve your life and leave behind habits that weren't serving you, jobs that weren't serving you, people that weren't serving you. So you might notice your friend group starts to change. Your career changes, your location changes. You start to lose things. It starts to seem like everything is falling apart, when in fact, sometimes things have to fall apart to come back together in a way that more so aligns with what your higher self wants for you. And if you go into meditation, if you sit in your silence, you'll begin to understand these things a little bit more. Why things have to be a certain way. Things are not always going to be how you want them. Sometimes it's just the way that things have to be in order for you to do what you came here to do. But you will improve. You start to face your shadow. You start to experience your emotions without reacting to them, and then releasing them. And overall, you become who you truly are, which is the observer as opposed to the ego by default. Again, you can't get rid of the ego. You can only tame it. Because the ego is actually more so here for survival. But you can utilize your ego to actually help you, as opposed to letting it control you, which most people do. Most people let it control them. And you can tell someone's being controlled more so by their ego than anything else if they're very defensive, if they're very protective of themselves, if they're very argumentative, angry, resentful. All these kind of negative energies. You can tell they're being ruled by their ego. They really care what other people think about them. They need outside validation. They need people to know that they're a good person, even if they're really not. They're hiding their shadow. You start to gain a deeper empathy for the people on this planet, for animals. And you start to want to give back. You start to intertwine the things that you want, or your purpose, or your calling. You start to intertwine that with helping people. So whatever that may be, whatever your purpose or your calling is, what also comes up when you think about it is, how can I help people? For me, I want to help people through my videos. But if I start to make money, of course I'm going to put that money into helping others. Absolutely. And that's ultimately my goal at the end of the day. It's the core reason. It's my why. You know, I would love to retire my parents. You start to realize that part of your purpose is helping people on this planet. You realize that life's not happening to you, it's happening for you. And I know that that's a little cliche, but if you want to say it another way, life's not happening to you, you're actually co-creating with your own life, with the universe, with whatever you believe. You're co-creating. So anything that you want is already inside you, and you can bring it out into your outer world. Your inner world creates your outer world. And it does take some time when you change your inner world for that to translate to your outer world, so patience is very important. But as long as you stay on a fairly high frequency most of the time, feeling that you already have what you desire, you can manifest these things into your life. You can create the life that you want even before you have it. Even if your life is not good now, you can still push forward with the idea in your mind that you are the person who has it. That time isn't linear, that everything's happening everywhere, all the time, all at once, like that movie. If you think about it that way, and what you want, what you desire has already occurred or already happened or it is happening, it's more believable to say, hey, I already have this. It's already within me. The desire is the seed within ourselves. And the actions that we take towards those desires are the seeds that we choose to plant along the way. And seeds don't just grow into a tree or a plant overnight. You have to wait a little bit. You have to water it. You have to take care of it. You have to make sure the conditions are right. So it's realizing that you are also creating what you want, and that the things that are happening to you are for your benefit. Which brings me to my next point, that you start to see your problems not necessarily as problems, but as tests or challenges to be overcome, initiations. But you start to see your problems and your challenges with a better state of mind. I'm not saying you're going to like everything that you have to face or that you're going to be happy no matter what. But once you get over the initial shock or the initial processing of the negative things that are happening in your life, eventually you will get to a point where you're saying, this is okay, I can handle this, I can deal with this, I can do this. This is for my growth, or this is just part of life, and I'm gonna find a way through, because you trust yourself. You've seen what you could do in the past, and now you're pushing forward and just continuing to prove to yourself that you're stronger than you believe, and that you are safe in your own hands. I kind of like the idea that when you have an issue, when you have a problem, you can give it to the mountains, or you can give it to the trees, or you can give it to the sky, or you can give it to the lake, or you can give it to the ocean, wherever you are on this planet. Give your problems to something bigger. But yeah, you start to see your issues as not necessarily something good, but an opportunity to prove how far you've come. You stop seeking so hard for answers. And you stop seeking so hard for anything. And you start to let things just come to you, happen. And you start to experience life as opposed to chasing life. Really living and experiencing as opposed to living in your head and your worries and your fears and your fantasies. Which I know is something that I did pretty much my entire life. And now I'm finally living how I want. I'm doing the things I want. I'm thinking of things that I want to do that maybe at one time I was very afraid to do, but I know that if I do them, it's truly living, like facing a fear, like going base jumping or going skydiving, and just living in the present moment. Like I said, the past and the future don't really exist because you can't perceive them. The only thing that you can perceive right now is the present moment. So this is the only thing that we have evidence of that is real right now. So just trust that. I know I also said that time is not linear and everything's happening everywhere all at once. But in the same breath, you can't perceive it. You can only perceive this moment. So the only evidence we have of the true, real reality is our present moment. We're happy and abundant and content with the life that we already have. We see, even in the smallest little moments, like the fact that I got to sit and cuddle with my cat this morning. The sweet little moments. Or the steam coming off a freshly brewed coffee mug in the chilly fall days. The chilly, cloudy fall days. I think even little things like that, we appreciate and we take the time to really take it in and enjoy it and see it as a beautiful part of life. And that sometimes the most beautiful parts of life are the smallest parts of life. Feel free to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and share with me any weird spiritual awakening stuff that has happened to you, or anything strange that has happened to you, paranormal, spiritual, or otherwise, synchronicities. Let me know down below, because I love hearing those types of weird stories. And maybe I'll incorporate some weird stories into my channel. But until then, oh my God, the bugs. I thought bugs died during the fall, but I guess I'm wrong. Until next time, I'll see you in the next video.